Firstly, we are glad that you are finally here to receive this. Our main concern here and our main demand is that we need to have a gender summit before the 28th of August. All of these women are going to be there. Yes. Your departments are going to be there. You will convene it. You will convene it. Treasury will be there. And you will pay for it. And you'll ensure that what comes out, those outcomes are going to be budgeted for. That's a non-negotiable. Yeah. Please understand us when we say that is a non-negotiable. Yeah. We have been disrespected enough today. If you do not respect us at that gender summit, all I'm saying is, you've seen what's going to happen. We'll definitely shut this country down. There are over 20 marches today. Thousands of women are on the ground, thousands in every single province, saying no means no. Yes. And they were saying we need to be respected by these men. We said we don't even want them to march with us so that they can understand consent. Yes. So please, that gender summit must happen before the 28th. And we are going there to give you solutions. Don't worry. All you need to do is pitch up and give us a budget. We'll do the rest. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, before we present, can I say something? Yes, Mr. President, I'm a proud member of the African National Congress in good standing, but I am here with many women. I'll tell you an incident. My daughter was raped. Our daughter was raped on the 3rd of July by a foreign national taxi driver on her way home. It was not even in the evening, it was around 5:30. We on our own caught that foreign national. The police came and took that foreign national from our hands. Last week, that foreign national was released on bail. With 1,000 rand of bail.
How old was the child?
My daughter is 15.
Wow.
So I want to know, Mr. President, what are we doing about our justice system? Yes. We might complain as much about the South African police services, but our justice system keeps failing us. That guy number 1 is a flight risk. He might not even come back on the 17th of August. He tore my daughter's virginity, not even broke it. So something has to be done. We are here not because we are full of nonsense, my leader. We are here because we are angry women who live in a society where children are raped regularly on a daily basis.
Boys and girls alike.
Boys and girls alike. Women being beaten. When they get to the police station, they are told, police officials.
Where we need to see.
On that day, Mr. President, I was being taken away from the police station. I was told to go home. And they will tell me what to do without a case number. Until I called the MEC of Community Safety. She's the person who helped me and called the station commander to say, you cannot say that women must go home without giving her full information. So we are all upset here, Mr. President. And we want solutions. Because if you do not give us solutions, you are going to turn us into violent women, and we are going to kill these men, and we are going to castrate them. Because they are ruining the future of our children.
And then the worst part of this is that, you know, we fear to be here. And then you come and address us. We are unsafe already. But then you address us at night. And it's like, how can you even relate to us as a woman if you can't even think of something like that as a man?
How are we getting home?
How are we getting home? We were waiting for you.
We were in that park. About that. Men walk into that park every minute.
As we leave right now, we are in fear. Because we've been waiting all day.
I just want please start by telling us about the cops, number 1.
And where is that white police officer now? Where is the white police officer?
He's that side. He's chilling that side with his
He's outside. Where is that white police officer?
She's in death sentence, Mr. President. Castrate the rapists, Mr. President. High moral. High discipline. High moral. High discipline. High moral. Let the rapists be castrated, Mr. President.
High discipline.
High moral.
Just
just one last thing. We had been planning this for 6 weeks. We were given a platform at the 100 Men March to speak and invite people to come here. The Minister Batabile Dlamini was there as well. We stood on stage only when people were doing their pleasures. We were denied a platform and we were booed off the stage. And we were told that total shutdown is being tolerated, basically. And we are still angry about that. And we want an apology because Minister Batabile Dlamini then went to announce a day of mourning, knowing very well that those were our plans. Without mentioning us. Without mentioning us.
They have their own ANC agenda. The people have this side, but they have their own.
The total shutdown memorandum of demands, 1st of August 2018, to His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa. On the 1st of August 2018, women, both cisgender and transgender women, and gender non-conforming people, delivered this memo to the government of South Africa. We, the women of this country, are aware that gender-based violence against women, non-conforming women, and intersectional women has reached levels that are unacceptable and cause untold harm. We are also aware of the complex multi-layered factors that have resulted in South Africa being counted amongst the highest-ranking countries with unprecedented levels of gender-based violence against women and non-conforming women and transgender women. We acknowledge that there have been numerous protests and activities undertaken by many non-governmental organizations and other interest groups in our society fighting this scourge. It is evident to us that without a total integrated action by all relevant segments of our society, as well as political will, nothing will change to eliminate this scourge. That is why, as women, we have been moved to rise, march, and protest to demand an end to gender-based violence against women today. This document set out a list of demands to the state. It is an initial set of 24 demands that represents each year that the state has failed to ensure our constitutionally entrenched right to be free from all forms of violence since the establishment of our constitutional democracy. We believe that an integrated approach to fight against gender-based violence scourge, where different arms of government work together, has the ability to ensure better protection for women. We understand that different arms of government have different powers and functions. It is not the intention of our memorandum to comprehensively set out which entity must do what. Our aim is to demand that the state must do everything within its powers to enable us to realize our right to be free from violence, whether it emanates from private or private sources. We therefore demand our right to be free from violence and end to impunity for gender-based violence. Demand 1, Mr. President, a strong message from your office that gender-based violence against women is pervasive and widespread, that it cannot be tolerated at any level of society. This includes a commitment never to appoint any individual who has been implicated or minimize the causes that consequence of gender-based violence to cabinet or to lead a state institution. Further, a commitment to establish and drive a multi-stakeholder and comprehensive process to address and reduce gender-based violence, and commitment to announce the date of a national gender summit before the 30th of August 2018. A review of past national action plans to end gender-based violence with a view to understanding why they failed. The Ministry of Women in the Presidency be assist with the convening of a national process to lead this review. The terms of reference must include the participation of all relevant stakeholders, including relevant government departments and civil society formations. This process must also identify the individual institutional causes of the failure and make recommendations. Demand 3, Mr. President, the development of a criteria and screening for appointing individuals who are tasked with leading efforts to end and respond to gender-based violence. This includes the development of a criteria that seeks individuals who understand that gender-based violence is a form of discrimination. It is overwhelmingly gender-specific, and it hampers to women because they are women. It must also recognize the efforts to end gender-based violence must be led by women and communities disproportionately affected by gender discrimination, which includes transgender and gender non-conforming persons, and who have worked on the gender-based violence issues and have an understanding of the role of the state has to play in preventing violence from occurring and responding to violence when it has occurred. Demand 4. The development of a national plan of action on gender-based violence, whose terms of reference will be determined by the review process envisaged under demand number 2. The plan could be in the form of an update of the action plans that were not implemented. Furthermore, gender diversity as it relates to transgender and gender non-conforming persons must be integrated into the National Action Plan of GBV to broadly combat and prevent GBV and hate crimes. Oh, yes. Resuscitation of the Joint Monitoring Committee on the Quality of Life and Status of Women. A prerequisite for committee membership is a proven track record on working on this committee and gender diversity issues. This committee must develop a legislative schedule to assess the implementation of current legislation aimed at combating gender-based violence against women, with a view to determine the role played and the gaps in the law in the failure to implement the law. To the extent that there are gaps, undertake a law reform process. The establishment of an accountability and oversight mechanism to ensure that an adopted national action plan is implemented. This includes the establishment of an independent ombudsman on gender-based violence against women, a special parliamentary oversight committee, and a specific inquiry mandate for the South African Human Rights Committee, Commission for Gender Equality, and the Commission for the Protection of the Rights of Cultural, Religious, and Linguistic Communities. Demand 7. Focusing on the prevention of re-victimization and re-traumatization through the establishment of a national and properly resourced hotline that will enable survivors to request and receive information on support services. Parliament needs to pass the Combating and Prevention of Hate Crime Bills to recognize and afford greater legal protection to transgender and gender non-conforming people who are often survivors of hate crime perpetrated against them based on their gender identity and or gender expression. Demand 8. Provision of prevention services and information on gender-based violence against women, with a view of raising awareness on the different forms of gender-based violence against women, preventing violence and changing attitudes. This includes, amongst other things, updating the school curriculum to include content that informs learners about gender-based violence and gender. For legislators to provide them with information on key features of drafting legislation on developing laws aimed at combating gender-based violence against women and promoting gender diversity and equality. The training programs must include international human rights standards and models and model laws on legislating on gender-based violence against women and gender diversity. Demand 10. Consistent sentencing and enforcement of existing laws, in particular the minimum sentencing legislation in sexual and domestic violence cases. Yes. The judiciary stops using harmful and negative gender stereotypes that reinforces secondary victimization and legitimize practices like victim blaming and slut shaming. Furthermore, we demand that sentencing guidelines be developed for both magistrates and high courts, including sexual offences courts. Yes. Demand 11. The prioritization of the provision of legal aid to victims of gender-based violence. Including those who want to hold the state accountable for its failure to protect them from violence. Those who have been subjected to lawsuits for publicly naming perpetrators. Sensitization and adequate training provided and sensitization of resource providers regarding diverse gender identities and LGBTQIA minorities on discrimination broadly and the causes and consequences of gender-based violence, in particular for members of the judiciary, and the programs on appointment should be offered on a continuous basis. The program must include emerging progressive human rights standards and jurisprudence on gender-based violence against women and gender diversity, various manifestations, and also highlight decisions that have failed to uphold women's rights to be free from violence. Demand 13. Provision of psychosocial support for victims and survivors of gender-based violence against women, including a publication of a referral list of the places where the services will be provided. If the state is not able to provide the services, competent NGOs and CBOs should be provided financial support to offer the services. Demand 14. a commitment to beginning a process to develop a comprehensive law on addressing gender-based violence against women. This includes engaging the South African Law Reform Commission to begin a consultation process. The law must include the provision of services, a clear legal and policy framework for protection and support for victims and survivors of violence. Recognition that intersecting forms of oppression heightens women's vulnerability to gender-based violence against women, and that these factors are taken into account during investigation, prosecution, and sentencing. These include race, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status, and nationality. Demand 16. The existing Tutuzela care centers resources must be developed and vacant posts must be filled. These TTC centers established as places of safety and care for all gender identities, being it cisgender women, transgender women, and gender non-conforming persons who are survivors of GBVs. The introduction of an automated national registry for protection orders. Provision of shelters and interim housing to enable women to escape abusive relationships. A list of shelters to be developed and confidentially shared with relevant service providers. Shelters are often places for discrimination and gender-based violence, especially as it relates to transgender women and GNC people who do not fit the gender binary model due to their legal gender identity. Government should review its current laws and policies to secure gender inclusivity that seeks to protect transgender and GNC people from GBV and hate crimes. Registration of gender-based violence against women cases in hospitals and the provision of information on support services available to survivors of gender-based violence, and ensuring that an effective referral mechanism between various service providers is in place. The support services include, but is not limited to, legal, psychosocial, and housing. Publication of a monthly list of police stations and police officers who have been reported to the Independent Police Investigation Directorate for failing to provide services to survivors of gender-based violence against women. Adoption of a policy to make prosecutors-led investigation of gender-based violence cases compulsory in order to provide guidance and assist in the gathering of evidence in order to ensure that cases are taken to court. Publication of a national training schedule on gender-based violence against women and gender diversity for all the relevant government departments, including Home Affairs, Social Development, Justice, Safety and Security, and Health. A sustained media campaign for 365 days by all departments led by Government Communication Information System, providing information including awareness. The last demand, Mr. President. Transgender and GNC people also have different safety and security needs that of cisgender women, based on how laws, policies and practice and systems are conceptualized based on gender binaries for cisgender women and men, as well as boys and girls. Transgender women and GNC people are raped in correctional facilities and detention centers in the criminal justice system by virtue of their legal gender markup. In combating GBV comprehensively, government should ensure that laws, policies, practices, and systems are sensitive to gender diversity to protect the bodily and physical as well as the psychological and emotional integrity of transgender and GNC people from GBV. To secure this object, government should focus on reviewing and amending gender recognition laws, pass the Combating and Prevention of Hate Crime Bill, pass the draft social inclusion policy for higher education institutions, and finalize the comprehensive sexuality education plan, which all recognizes that transgender and gender non-conforming people and the challenges these demographics face align to combating and preventing gender-based violence.
Let me start off by thanking you for presenting this memorandum. And allow me to extend my apology for only arriving so late. I had been caught up in a whole range of other commitments outside town. And that is why earlier in the day we thought that we should not send a government official, but send a minister of our government. She is Minister Naledi Pandor, Minister of Higher Education. And a minister who is very sensitive to the issues that you are raising here. And I asked her to come and receive the memo together with our Director General. And later where I was, I got to hear that that was not acceptable to you. Yes. And that you wanted to see him, yes. To see me. Yes. And I made it a point that I would come and offer my apology, but I also felt that I will come not only to receive the memorandum, but out of respect for all of you. Because as the president of our country, I do have deep respect for the women of our country, and take my time also to listen to the issues that are raised by the women of our country. You are right. As women, you are in the majority. But it is not only for that that we should respect you. Yes. We should respect you because you have inherent rights. You are human beings. Yes. We matter. You are women who truly matter in the life of our country. And it is for that reason that we respect you. Now, I'm accompanied here by Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, and I'm also accompanied by Dr. Olive Shisana, who is my social policy advisor, and the Director General, Dr. Lubisi, as well as my security advisor, Comrade Charles Ngakula. And there are others, and yes, Minister of Police, Minister Cyril. Okay, I thought it's my turn to speak now. Now, Minister Cyril and Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula have just come back from Mozambique, and once I also returned, I felt that I'd like them to come to be here as well, and I'd like to thank them and thank Dr. Shisana for having been here and holding the fort. Now, let me say that we feel the pain that you feel. I feel it very deeply. I also feel the hurt and the anger that you feel. I feel it also quite deeply. And let me apologize for the incidents that occurred here. How you were treated by the police officer or officers. Amen. And I can say without any doubt that we are going to deal with those police officers. We will. We will deal with them, and we will deal with them most severely, because not only because this is the beginning of Women's Month, because it is totally unacceptable for officers of our law to deal with women in the way that you have described. So I apologize. I apologize for the way you were treated, and I can assure you and the Minister of Police is here. We are going to go to the bottom of this, and we are going to make sure that they are dealt with, including the one who said all those things about black women being raped. It is completely unacceptable. Let me say, yes, we accept that as women who are the victims of gender-based violence, you are the ones who have the solutions. And I want to thank you for this memorandum, because I must say it is the most comprehensive memorandum that details the issues and the challenges that women face that I have ever read. And we are going to go into this very, very carefully. We will go through every demand, every proposal, every point that you have raised in this memorandum, and I can assure you, we are going to make sure that we give and pay attention to the issues that you're raising here, because you are raising very, very important and cogent issues that our country needs to attend to demonstrate its commitment to the women of our country and its respect to the women of our country. And I would like us as a country, particularly us as men, to show and demonstrate that we respect the women of our country, we honor them, and we are there to support them in every way. And we want now to intensify the campaign against gender-based violence. We want to root out gender-based violence against the women of our country throughout the length and the breadth of the country. And this, I can assure you, if you are listening, I can assure you that this is going to make a huge contribution to raising the level of consciousness amongst all of us in the country. So you have made and you are making a huge contribution to enable us as a country, as a nation, and as men to be able to address the issue of gender-based violence. You have raised a proposal on a summit. Yes. I like the sound of that. And I like a gathering where we will be able to have a proper discussion on this matter. And we will, as we go through this memo, come back to you on that. Yes. You have made a firm proposal, and yes, you have given us timelines, and I would like you to say, I respect you for the manner in which you have presented this memo to us, and I want to thank you for that. Now, in the main, this is, I am the last speaker now. I want you to accept, Uguti, I am the last speaker. Yes. And I am giving you a preliminary response in many ways to this. And after this, it means that we now are given the opportunity to go into this in depth, and we will come back to you. Yes. Because now, as president, I've got to be able to speak last. Yes. You've all had your say, and I listened very, very carefully. Mamela. The way that you have addressed this, you've done it in a non-threatening way. Yes. You have done it without banging the table. Yes. You have done it, as you yourself have said, in a non-violent way, although you are subjected to violence every day of your life. I want to thank you in the way that you have raised this and give us the opportunity. All I ask for is give us the opportunity to go through this. And I can assure you we will discuss it in my office, in the President's office. Dr. Olive Chisana here, who is my social policy advisor, and the two ministers who are here. We are going to make sure that we address each and every issue that you have raised, and we will come back to you. Now, I'm rather glad that you have raised this at the beginning of Women's Month, because that gives us the opportunity to give more substance and meaning to the interventions that we should make to protect the women of our country and to make sure that the rights that are embodied in our Constitution are rights that you too as the women of our country can enjoy. Because yes, you have the right to enjoy your bodies, you have the right to live a life that is happy in our country. And I am sorry, I really am deeply sorry that a number of women in our country have not had the opportunity to enjoy all the rights that are enshrined in our Constitution, because they are violated, they are abused, they are assaulted, and a number of them are also killed. This causes me to hang my head in shame, because this is not the way that South African men should behave towards the women of our country. We should behave towards you with respect, with honor, and we should appreciate you and celebrate you as the women of our country, as the mothers of our nation. Because it is you who bring life into this world. I, as a man, was brought into this world by you, by the women of our country, and therefore it is important for us as men to give that respect to you. And this is the message that I, as president, will be spreading over and over. But today, you have even empowered my own message on the issue of the right of women through this memorandum. I'm going to study it very carefully, and we will want to act on quite a number of issues that you have raised. Let me say that you've raised specific issues that go to the heart of how our country should treat its women. And I thank you for that, because this is what we really need. But I want to end up by saying, in the end, it is not us men who have the solutions. You as women have the solutions. And that is why you are here, and now you've given it to us in our hands. And I want to say, please do not let up. Remain the activists that you are. Remain noisy as you are. Remain radical as you are. And remain vocal as you are. Because the message that you have imprinted here needs to be heard. It needs to be heard in the corridors of power. It needs to be heard in the halls of influence and all over the country. And we will make sure that, yes, even the police, yes, even our parliamentarians, yes, even our judiciary, yes, even our traditional leaders, yes, even our religious leaders must hear your message loud and clear. Now today, I can say that you now have new advocates for your message. Yes. You have us standing here as the advocates who will be propagating the messages that you have imprinted here. So it is for that reason that I thank you, and with my apology for having come so late, at the same time I thank you for putting all these views here. And now I feel really proud. I feel proud that we've got women like you And I, as your president, I feel proud, but at the same time, I feel ashamed that we're treating you as the women of our country in the way that we did. And I also want it to stop.
Yes.
And we are going to work very hard to make gender-based violence to disappear on South African soil. And we will work with you. We will walk this journey with you hand in hand until all the demands that you have put in here are achieved. And with those words, thank you very much, and thank you very much for being here.
Try and tell funeral plans.
It's your final gift of love.